You have heard about account abstraction for the past 6 years as something that the Ethereum blockchain wants to implement. The main purpose is to enable smart contracts to send and pay for transactions. There are other features that they include under the umbrella of account abstraction, like allowing the user to choose the signature mechanism. But we will focus on the most important aspect, allowing smart contracts to send and pay for transactions. This opens up new subdomains and new markets. You can have cron jobs on the blockchain with fees paid by a contract. A user can set aside payment for future transactions that will be made on his behalf. You can have validators being controlled by a smart contract. And today I am demoing a prototype implementation of how abstracted accounts can work for the EVM Ethereum virtual machine. And I am using a modified local instance of an Evmos chain. This is the diagram of what will happen under the hood. A user will send a transaction to trigger contract 1 to send a transaction to a target contract, contract 2. This trigger can be a user transaction, but it could also be a scheduled cron job inside the node client. Contract 1 uses the abstract account precompile to send a transaction which is forwarded to the abstract accounts module. This module retrieves the abstract account of contract 1 and funds it with the necessary amount for paying the transaction fees. Then the abstract account can sign the transaction and can send it to be processed like any other normal transactions. At the end, any refunded fees are sent back to contract 1. And contract 1 also receives the transaction receipt and the new account nonce for his abstracted account. And the user receives the receipt for the transaction that he sent. And now the demo. We have a dApp with the interface for contract 1, the contract with an abstract account, and contract 2, the target contract, and the button to get contract 1's balance and the difference in balance to see how much was consumed when sending a transaction. Now contract 1 has 3 tokens in balance and the token unit has 18 decimals. Contract 2 stores a value that can be shown with the get function, and now this is 0, and it can modify this value by sending a transaction for the set function. Here we can send the trigger transaction to contract 1. For demonstration purposes, I will craft the call data for this transaction and use contract 2 address. The value is 0, will set a gas limit of 100,000, and the call data has the signature for the set function of contract 2, and we will change this value of 0 with a value of 5. And we are going to send the transaction. The transaction went through, and now the value from contract 2 is 5. And the balance of contract 1 is less than it was with this amount. This diff is the amount paid by the contract corresponding with 100,000 gas limit multiplied by a gas price of 20 gwei. Account abstraction was first proposed in issue 86 from the Ethereum EIP repository 6 years ago. Last proposal is EIP 4337. The main purpose is to enable contracts to initiate transactions. Use cases: cron-like contract functionality, on-chain automation, greater governance powers, trustless bridging, and something that we will talk more about in later videos, synergy with interchain accounts from the Cosmos ecosystem. And of course, this type of account abstraction can only be done on chains that offer finality.